Good morning, everyone. My name is Denelle Dixon. I am, in fact, the CEO and Executive Director of the Stellar Development Foundation, but what I really want to say is how excited I am to be here with all of you. So Meridian is special. It's the opportunity for us to convene. We started this in 2019, and we called it Meridian because it was a way to bring the globe together and to bring everyone together and for us to do our part with you as the ecosystem. So let's try something. I'm going to shake things up a bit. I want everyone to stand up, and I want you to turn to the person on your right and tell the person next to you why you're here. For those on the end, just give it right back to the other person. Okay, I wanted you guys to share why you're here and what you want to get out of this. Okay, thank you. Sit down, let's get back to this. So let's find out on Thursday whether the outcome of why you're here and what you wanted to accomplish is actually something that you get to. I hope so. So I'm about to talk about transformation. What does that mean? It means an extreme, radical change. It's our theme for this year, as you can see. And transformation really starts with a goal, an outcome, an idea. Maybe it's that spark of why you're here. I've been in Web3 now and blockchain for about 6 years, and I've seen a lot of industry growth and transformation during that time. So in many ways, it echoes back to the part of my career in Web2. Yes, I'm old. When I worked on some of the web's most challenging content problems: privacy, consent, security, net neutrality. And the web took a lot of time. It took a long time to really develop. So for those of you who are closer to my age, you might remember that there was a time when people just weren't comfortable putting their contact information and their credit card into a browser, into a web page. In fact, I said, I'm never going to do that. Never going to get my credit card information stolen. And then later, I started working on a browser that actually made people comfortable providing that information and putting it in the web pages because there was privacy and there was security and technology in the background. And now today, we put our credit card information into web pages, applications, we do all those things. And this is because of the trust that was built. And it's trust from excellent design choices, privacy controls, and of course the technology. So in my Web2 days, I learned that even though the technology was central to making and creating this trust, it wasn't the thing that people actually knew about, cared about. The thing that actually made people comfortable with putting this information, this really important information, banking information, your credit card, your social security numbers, into web pages, it was that focus on making people feel comfortable with user-centric design. And it was solving problems. They knew that they wanted to get to something and that you could help them solve the problems. So that technology was in the background, but really it was solving their problems, delighting them through very simple and thoughtful user experience. And so that's sort of the stage that we need to get to today in blockchain, because this industry has matured a lot. Maybe not as much as some of us would like, but we are so much better now than we were 6 years ago. And the next stage of growth and transformation, it really takes focus. If we want to solve those real problems, it's not going to just be that shiny tech that's going to get us there. It needs to be ease of use. And when we lead with utility and problem solving, and when we don't shy away from those really, really hard questions and challenges that we have, it makes it easier for people to push that to accept the technology, to leverage the technology, and sometimes to not even know what the technology is, but to know their problems are being solved. So we can make a difference, and that's not just thanks to one developer or one person. That's because of all the people that are going to push us forward. So with my time today, I want to talk about three things. I'd like to focus on the transformation journey on Stellar. And so first, I want to talk about those transformations that have already taken place. There are a ton of them. So I want to talk a little bit about that, the real impact that blockchain and Stellar is already making today. And then next, I want to talk about what it is that we can see for the next round of innovations. There's a lot of work yet to be done to deliver on all of this future transformation, and we need to talk about it and figure out what we need to do. And then finally, I want to talk about the role that all of you in this room play. So now is the time for everyday financial services on Stellar. You're going to hear about our tech stack and the fact that I think we're feature complete. Tomer's going to tell you probably not as feature complete as we'd like to be, but I think we're feature complete. Stellar's now 10 years old. That's a huge, huge, huge milestone. So we watched all the hype. We saw the shiny objects. We saw the meme coins. They're still out there today. That's all great. But we didn't get distracted by that. We really focused, and we really like to say that Stellar is where blockchain meets the real world. And it creates everyday financial services. So when I met Jed several years ago, he told me that he wanted to make money move like email. That's super Web 2, right? But the thing is, that's what sold me on coming to Stellar. That's what actually made me realize that we were on a journey that was going to be successful. Because even though email isn't the cool, hip technology that it once was, being able to send information and emails to people who were on different platforms was huge. That was a really important development. And it created uninterrupted communication. So this is something that is true for money. And I may be preaching to the choir here, but borders break the flow of money unless it moves on blockchain. And today, the flow of money, just like Jed said way back when to me, can and does move like email. Today, Stellar is for entrepreneurs to access global markets and payment solutions and to enable them to find work, to get paid, and to support their communities. Stellar's for freelancers and knowledge workers globally. They're reducing payment friction. They're giving the workforce an opportunity and an alternative to banking solutions that impose fees as high as 10 to 15%. And they're allowing these users to keep 99% more of their earnings. Stellar is for growing local economies. It's opening the door to new capital opportunities and new jobs and creating an on-chain effect within the communities and new businesses and new opportunities. Stellar is for revolutionizing humanitarian aid, giving refugees and internally displaced people access to financial services in their time of need. And Stellar is for the simple thing, sending remittances across border. And this is addressing a need in a market where it's nearly to reach $5 trillion by 2030. And this is just more efficient. And then Stellar's design and the optimizations, they really focus on driving this type of breadth and utility. Low fees, fast transaction times, smart contracts, and sustainable tech. And there's already this amazing ecosystem that's here, all of you, really using this tech to solve problems for the real world. Today, a user, and many of you know this because you're building these things, can now use the wallet as a single point of entry to achieve financial freedom. They can get paid, they can pay their bills, they can take loans, they can do investments, they can send money to their family. That's all happening because these wallet innovations that have created so much opportunity and transformation. We have instant USDC chain swap now between Stellar and other chains in wallets. We have enhanced discovery. You can find users not just by their blockchain address. You can find users by their email address, by their names, by their wallet addresses. There's also, wallets have this create a wallet on the fly. It's something that's used in the humanitarian aid case and other cases too. It generates wallets and notifies the users with the text message, and the money's already in there. We have gasless transactions, so it sort of helps to remove that friction to be able to pay those transaction fees. In wallets, we see fiat access integrations. This is for all over the world, globally. We see DEX integrations, so that it makes it easier to get connected to DeFi. You can do bill pay, bulk disbursements, so you can do disbursements of payments instantaneously. And you have access to US bank accounts. This is an on-ramp to USDC with no fees, and then you have a dedicated US bank account, and you don't have to be in the US, and that's huge. These wallet innovations show how blockchain interacts with traditional financial infrastructure to make a real impact. And this is where we are now. This is all already available. It's happening. But now it's time to drive more transformation, because there's still so many unmet needs out there. We have so much work to do. Obviously, the technology is most useful where financial access is more limited. But even in the United States, there was a recent survey that was done, and it talked about a vast segment of the population there that really was turning away from banking infrastructure and turning to non-bank financial services to be able to solve the needs that they wanted to meet. This is important because some people have this view that there's this perception that those that are financially underserved or unbanked, that they don't actually have robust financial lives. And this couldn't be further from the truth. People are stuck, but they're not helpless. And since they don't have the luxury to wait for someone to build something to make things work for them, they become their own innovators. They figure out how to get around these payment challenges or this receipt to receive money simply and easily. This is how they make their day-to-day. They're innovators out of necessity. And I've been able to see this ingenuity firsthand with a lot of folks, and especially those folks that I've met in the Global South. I want to tell you about one. His name is Joy. He might be in the room. You're going to see him later today. Earlier this year, I went with some of my colleagues from the SDF, and we went to Ghana, Nigeria, and Kenya. It was an amazing opportunity to meet local builders. It was also an amazing opportunity to meet with some creators who actually were really having these big challenges with respect to receiving money. Joy's from Ghana, and every time that Joy wants to export his talent, he was our videographer on the trip, by the way. He was awesome. He's worked on films, international films, and done commercials, and he's so talented. And anytime he wants to export his talent globally, he has a flurry of payment challenges that he runs into, despite being banked and well-connected. But you name that payment challenge, and he's had it. High fees. He has to change money from one bank account to the other bank account. Banks are then saying, why are you moving your own money around? And they close his bank accounts, and they hold that money up so that he can't get access to it. These are all things that he has to face, but he's not alone. And there are so many individuals and businesses that experience this same thing. So he astutely pointed out to me one time that he's a creator. He's not a banker. But he's forced by the current financial infrastructure and the current system to spend a significant amount of time and his mental energy focusing on the financial side of how to even get money into his bank account from outside of Ghana. Joy's one example, but there are so many others where there's unmet needs around the globe. Innovators out of necessity. They lack trust in the current system because their needs haven't been heard. So when I think about the next stage of transformation and where we all need to go, that's what we can build on. We need to think about listening to the joys of the world. And when we listen, we need to see the problems that need to be solved, that we can figure out whether Web3 can actually make a difference there. And we can empower and support local builders to be able to tackle these challenges. Local builders and innovators are the ones that know about the problems in their communities better than anyone else because they live there, and they live that life every single day. There are founders that saw an opportunity in Tanzania where SMEs, which account for 1/3 of the GDP and 40% of the employment in the country, but they face challenges getting capital. And so then these founders created a debt fund on Stellar, focused on these SMEs and these women-owned businesses. There are founders that recognize the challenge of not being able to access your payments your money because you don't have a US bank account, and so no one could pay into it and pay you without it. And so they created the technology that allowed a user to have a US bank account and not be in the US. And then there are those wallets that I talked about that took that technology for their local audiences and leveraged it to solve problems for them. There are so many opportunities to take this technology to the next level. And some that I hope to see more people tackle over the next year is like, how can we create more opportunities for community banking with smart contracts? How can we develop more crowdsourced financing for filmmakers and for artists? How can we build out tokenized carbon marketplaces so that we can have real-time reporting of climate goals? And closest to my heart is how can we get open platforms like Stellar to be in the hands of developers to build solutions that best serve their communities? We've now got the tech, we've got the utility, and we need to build for those unmet needs. This is the next wave of transformation. And you know what? I know we've got this. Transformation of everyday financial services, it won't just be up to one developer, one company. Which brings me to my last point. It's the role that you all play in this room to move this transformation forward. That's the opportunity that we have over the next 3 days here at Meridian, that you all have in this room now. Let's be the builders that solve the next hard problems. Let's show the world that utility and impact of blockchain solutions, both what is out there already today and what we can realize in the future. Building around utility applies to everyone in this room. Building to bring value to people's lives. It's fundamental. And it's how we actually got people to build on Web 2. So if we take what we've transformed so far, and if we listen to the challenges, and we listen to the unmet needs to figure out where transformation needs to go next, then we can work together to transform everyday financial services in a really meaningful way. Transformation requires a clear focus, requires clear goals, and the outcomes that you want to see. And I challenge you, envision yours. I challenge you to work with one another to make it happen. Thank you.